Well, greetings Doomers and other Indiana Jones fans. Well, this is not quite the video that I wanted to put out. I was going to do a big retrospective on the movie Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom for the 40th anniversary, but unfortunately, life got in the way. I got really sick, I lost my voice, I sounded like a frog, and then on top of that, the condo upstairs from me has been under renovations for the past 3 weeks, so it was nothing but banging and bow, 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 bow. So what I want to do is address like a question I got on YouTube about gear and what I wear. So I'm going to do a breakdown of my Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom gear. I know I've said this 1,000 times, but the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom look is my favorite of all the films. I really feel like that movie in particular, Harrison Ford looked the best in the gear. In Raiders, I don't know if it was because, you know, they had already started making pieces for Tom Selleck or what, but in Raiders, to me, it looks like the gear is wearing Indy, and in Temple of Doom, it looks like he is wearing the gear. That's the best way I can describe it. It just fits him like a second skin. I think the way Indy looks in all of the village scenes and in Traveling to Pankot Palace is his best adventure gear look in all the films. And that's what I've tried to model my own cosplay after. I know everybody's coming at this with different budgets and different ideas of what they want their Indy to look like. I'm kind of a perfectionist and a little bit of a cosplay overachiever, so it's important to me to get all the little details right for the film look that I'm trying to portray. Probably some bad habits I carried over from being in the 501st Legion. I'm just going to give you the breakdown of my stuff, and we're going to go from the floor on up. So starting with the boots and ending with the hat. So let's get into it. Okay, so for the Indy boots, being a perfectionist, like I said, I had to have the Aldens. There was just no way that I could live with myself not having anything but the boots that he wore in the film. So I did have like a pair of kind of close enoughs for a while that I wore while I was busy combing eBay daily trying to find a pair of Alden Indy boots, the 405s, in my size. And eventually I did. And in, I believe December of 2016, I finally found a pair in my big old size 12 boot, and they were used, and I got them for $179. Probably a lot lower than what you would get them for now, just because demand and time and the cost of Aldens keeps going up and up and up. But I will say, if you don't want to spend the $700 on a new pair, a used pair is a great option, especially if they're already broken in. You're not going to have to break your heart weathering them and getting them looking like they've been on some adventures. Some of that work will already be done for you. As you can see, my Aldens were pretty beat up, and I love the way they look. They look like they've been through something. They've got the cotton interior, which is a really nice touch. There are some alternatives out there if the Aldens aren't in your budget. Wested Leather has a pair of adventure boots that are very affordable. They're only around $160. I've heard good things about them. Haven't seen a pair of them myself. I also know there's a company from China called Luosjeet, I believe. They have a pair of mock toe boots, and the mock stands for moccasin, and that's that little arch going around the front. And their boots go for around $260, and I've heard really good things about them, and from what I've seen, they look really nice. There are alternatives out there if the Aldens are hard to find, or if you just want a stopgap until you can afford some. But me personally, I had to have the Aldens. Okay, moving up next, socks. In Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, he seems to be wearing some brown crew socks. I know in Dial of Destiny, I think they might have seemed like they were green, but we're going by Temple of Doom here. And in this shot right here at the camp, they look pretty dark brown to me. So dark brown socks, up to your knee, or at least over the ankle, covering up the skin. You can see there's no skin showing here. Pretty simple. The trousers. Now, you have two really good choices here with the trousers. If you're going for accuracy. If accuracy is not in your budget, a lot of people skate by. I had some Dockers when I first started out. I know a lot of us do that. Like Costume Base sells some indie-like pants. But if you're going for the accuracy and you have the money to spend, you got two really good choices in my opinion. You've got the Wested leather pants and you've got the Carolean dry goods. Now they both have strengths and weaknesses. The Wested leather pants, they are made from the same English cavalry wool that the Screen Used pants were from. So drape, all that stuff, it's gonna be perfect. Also, the color is really good for Temple of Doom. The only issue with the Wested leather ones is the dart in the back over the butt. The dart goes straight up to the waist and not at an angle like the Screen Used pants do. The Carolean dry good pants do have the right dart. The cut is really nice, they look good. The color is a little more, he was trying to match it closer to Raiders, and he's not using 100% wool, it's a wool poly blend. So some of the drape might not be 100% right. They are both priced around the same price. They're both around $160. So it's just your choice really. If you're already getting something from Wested and you live in the US and you want to save on shipping, you know, it might help to get the pants from them. Carolean ships for free in the US at least, so that's pretty competitive. I have the Wested leather pants. I really wanted that 100% English cavalry wool. The dart does kind of bother me a little bit, and I might pick up some Caroleans in the future. The color to me is not as big of an issue, you know, with the color grading and everything else that goes on these films. The pants always look different from scene to scene anyway. It'd be pretty difficult to nail down the exact color of every part. So for me, I went with Wested. For Temple of Doom, you have a choice. You can do the 4-inch military hem, or you can also do a 1-inch, which he does in certain scenes. From what I can tell, it looks like it was the 3-inch when they were on location in Sri Lanka and 1-inch when they were in the studio. Okay, here's one that causes me fits. The web belt. In Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, just like in Raiders, Indy wears a dark brown web belt. These things are super cheap. The US military has been using them forever, like World War II and probably before that. You can get them anywhere. You can get them on Amazon. You can go into your local military surplus store and get one of these belts. They are the easiest thing in the world to get. So, why do some of you wear tan belts with your Temple of Doom gear? That's for Last Crusade and after. For Doom, you wear the dark brown, just like Raiders. So if you have the Raiders web belt, you're already set. If you don't, you can get one on Amazon for 10 bucks. They are super cheap. Okay, now continuing on up, we come to the shirt. Temple of Doom shirt. Here's your choice. Azuma, 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 Azuma. Did I say Azuma? Yes, Azuma. That is the shirt that you want to get for your Temple of Doom gear. He gets all the little details right, the placement of the pleats and the epaulets, whatever you want to call them. There's a slight difference from each film, and Azuma nails down all those details. Plus, most importantly, the button color. The button color. In Temple of Doom and beyond, he has like the darker kind of olive buttons. In Raiders, the buttons match the shirt closer. So another Temple of Doom pet peeve of mine is when I see people wearing the Raiders shirt with the wrong colored buttons. Now, before Azuma was doing his Temple of Doom shirts, I had the What Price Glory shirt, and I actually had my tailor, my wife, replace the buttons with darker ones because that little detail was just driving me crazy. And those are the kind of things that drive me crazy because, like I said, kind of a nut about this stuff. So yes, when Azuma does one of his runs, please jump on it. The shirts generally cost around $80 and ends up being around $90 with shipping. They are great quality. You will not regret it. All right, now after the shirt, what comes next? All the strapping. And I know there are a lot of strap makers out there that people like, straps and holsters and whip holders. all those little details. I went with Make It Jones. I just liked his attention to detail. I liked his pricing, and he shipped very fast. Even though he's in the UK, I was never waiting long for any of my pieces. The bag strap on Temple of Doom, they went with a more narrow, like 7/8 inch, as opposed to the thicker 1 inch from the Raiders bag, and they went with a darker color, which I prefer to the lighter brown of Raiders because it just provides more contrast and just makes it pop a little bit better on screen. Make It Jones will make sure you get the correct buckle, the flat roller, as opposed to the bent roller from the Last Crusade buckle. Another one of my pet peeves is the buckle. You got to get that thing dead center on your chest. Cover your heart, Indy. Get that thing right here. And if you're having problems doing that, Make It Jones has a guide on their website that will help you get your buckle in the right place. When I see buckles up here and down here and on the back, it drives me crazy. Get that buckle dead center on your chest. Now he's got his straps going for about 32 pounds. You can also get the premium leather and aged, which is what I did. So the leather has these like little cracks and grain on them. It looks really nice. It looks a little more broken in. Next up, of course, would be the gun belt that you wear over top of your pants. The Temple of Doom has kind of got that like D-ring shaped buckle. It's also dark brown to match the bag strap, and it's 1 3/8 inches wide, so it's a little bit narrower than the Raiders belt. David at Make It Jones sells these for about 45 pounds, and the gun belt is what you'll feed your holster and your whip holder through. Now the whip holder is just a dark brown piece of leather. Nothing too special. The Temple of Doom one wasn't really fancy. It wasn't riveted to the belt like it is in Raiders, so it does tend to slide, and you can see in certain shots where the whip holder is kind of slid all the way to the front because of the weight of the whip. The whip holder goes for about 9 pounds, but you can get it included with the gun belt for a discounted price if you order them both together. And then finally is the holster. In Temple of Doom, it's when we began to move towards the Webley style holster. It's dark brown, it's almost black, provides some eye-popping contrast that I think looks really nice. David will, of course, weather the holster for you to put the gun imprint in it, but as we know in Temple of Doom, he doesn't have his gun. He loses at the very beginning of the movie. So it's another thing I like about the Temple of Doom cosplay is you don't have to carry a gun around all the time and get stopped at conventions. You just say, look, here's my empty holster. Sorry, I lost my gun in Shanghai. And the holster goes for 75 pounds. For all those items to us in the US, you're gonna spend around $200, and that's for strap, whip holder, holster, and belt. It's a really good deal, and like I said, David works fast and he ships fast. You won't be waiting long for your stuff. Nothing but good things to say about it. And what are you going to attach your bag strap to but the bag? Now, I originally started out with a Todd's Costumes reproduction bag that was really nice, but when What Price Glory came across a whole load of the originals, I of course bought an original, and they sell them now on their site for $60. They also have a few of the bags with the WG stamp in them, which apparently is an even closer detail. A lot of those bags they showed on their site looked more green to me than the kind of mustardy color, so I'm not sure it's worth spending the extra $15 on one of those. What Price Glory also sells reproduction bags for $36, and their reproduction bags look very nice as well. The original bags are getting very old at this point. We're talking 80 years old, so if it's something that you want to use daily, like as a messenger bag, you're gonna find that, you know, this stuff is gonna start wearing away pretty quick and will rot and rip. So you might want a repro bag for every day and use the real thing for cosplay. I should note that Wested Leather also has the original bags, no surprise since they're in England, and they sell theirs for $63. And it comes with the strap, though you're not, for Temple of Doom, you're not going to want to keep that strap. You'll want to change it out for something more accurate, if accuracy is what you're going for. It's what I'm going for. So, jackets. So, I have the Wested Leather Temple of Doom jacket. I have two versions of it. I have the custom one that they were offering about 8 years ago, back when the only way you could get a Temple of Doom jacket was to make a custom order, because they only sold Raiders and Last Crusade off the rack. And I did all the weathering, got the sleeves all nice and wrinkled, did the shower. I have really put this one through it, you know, acetone, rubbing alcohol, the scouring pads. I've used all kinds of techniques to weather this one and really make it look like it's been through some adventures. It is my favorite jacket to wear. I also have the Legacy Temple of Doom, which is Wested's most accurate offering yet. For their Legacy jacket, they're using the patterns that they got based off of Noel Howard's jacket. So although Wested did not make the jackets for Temple of Doom, they have a really, really close pattern. The jacket's very tailored. The sleeves are tight. I have to admit, I busted out the tricep area of my sleeve at one point and had to get it repaired. This is one of the dangers of lifting weights, but I love the jacket. When it comes to the whole cheap, fast, good paradigm, Wested is like right there in the middle. For the price and the quality and the speed, they are very, very hard to beat. Anytime I've made an order to Wested for a jacket, I've always gotten it within a month. It's been very quick, and the hide they use is amazing. You will get some beautiful tones from it when you weather the jacket. For us here in the US, one of the Legacy line goes for about $318, and then of course shipping. So it's just a great deal all around if you don't mind doing the weathering yourself. Now there's also Steel & Jones, and Steel & Jones makes some incredible jackets. They will custom make them to you to make them look like how the jacket in the film fit Harrison, but to your proportions. And they will weather the jackets themselves. These things are pieces of art. They look amazing. I have one on my wish list. They offer them in a cheaper cowhide, which is not what was used in the film, but it is a way to get a jacket for a little bit less. That runs almost $400. And then they have the lambskin jacket, which is the leather that was used for the film, and it's lighter, and that one will go for about $650. Now, because there's so much work involved and love and care, the wait time is going to be a lot longer than it would be for the Wested. You're probably looking at 4, 5, 6 months even. But they really do work closely with you to make the jacket, you know, to make it yours. So really, there is no losing here. You have two great options. You can go with Wested, who worked with the producers for most of the indie films and have the original patterns, or you can go with Steel & Jones, and they're going to create a piece of art with you. It all depends on your budget and what your wait time is. Me, I say, why not both? And last but not least, we come to the hat. Now, the hat is the most indie thing. People see that hat from a mile away. Doesn't matter what else you're wearing. If you got this hat on, people say, hey, Indiana Jones. The hat is indie's signature. Now, Temple of Doom, you have that soft pinch. Got the flange, little bent down in the front, not overly characterized like the Raiders hat. A little more, in my opinion, a little more suave and sophisticated looking. Something that a professor would wear. There are a lot of great choices for hats. One of those choices is not the hat that they sell at Disneyland. Yeah, we all started out with one of those Dorfman Pacific hats. I get it, you put it on, you feel like indie. Once you get around some other indie fedoras though, you're gonna realize this thing's not up to snuff, and you should probably walk it over to your nearest dumpster. There are so many good hats out there that range at different budget levels. If you just save up a little bit of money, $250, $300, you can really get yourself a nice looking hat. Now for Temple of Doom, I've had hats from different hat makers. I've had Steel & Jones, I've had Screen Capped, I've had it vintage, and this right here is my Herbert Johnson hat, which I just got earlier this year, if you saw that video. I have good things to say about all of them. My Steel & Jones hat, you know, just like with the jackets, they really pay attention to the details and will really model the hat after a particular scene and make it look like it was ripped right off the screen. Only issue I've had with Steele and Jones, I've had a Temple and I've had a Last Crusade, is the sizing. For some reason, they run a little small. That's been my experience. Your mileage may vary. I've got the screen capped hat, which was a great budget hat, and that's coming from hat maker Brian Lalonde. He did a great job with it. I enjoy my screen capped hat. It's kind of my rough and tumble hat. Recently got rained on, so it's tapering a little bit, starting to look a little bit more like that studio hat, which I like. I have an vintage hat, which Thomas will also model the hat after certain scenes for you. I of course got a bridge scene hat. It is my favorite hat in the film. And it's beautiful. It's the true sable, so it's a little bit darker than Indy's hat in the film, but it feels really nice. It's like a luxury item. I got this hat a few years ago. I've noticed now he's really offering different levels, and these hats they get expensive. You can spend about as much as you want on these hats, but you're gonna get a good product. Now, my favorite hat, and the one that I try to wear as often as I can, is of course my Herbert Johnson hat. It's hard not to want to get a legacy piece of the costume from the hat makers that made the hats for the original films. Now I know for a couple of years, you know, after the original trilogy, the hats kind of lost some of that spark that those original hats had, but Michelle over at Herbert Johnson has really reinvigorated the Indy hat line, the poet, and just the care and detail she puts into these hats is something to behold. I just think any Indy fan would want to get a Herbert Johnson at some point. They do run about $535 for us here in the US. For Temple of Doom, you know, the hat you get out of the box, it looks very much just like a bridge scene hat. And it's comforting to know that when doing Dial of Destiny, Michelle actually got to handle and, you know, use a hat made for Temple of Doom. So she got down all the characteristics, so I feel, you know, very confident that she knows how to make a good Temple of Doom hat. I have a hat for every occasion for my Indy cosplay, but my Herbert Johnson is the pride of my collection. Finally, I just want to talk briefly about bullwhips. I'm not an expert with bullwhips. I know some of the Indy community have really taken to them, and they have whip meetups, and I've gone to these things before and see people do incredible tricks, things that Indy never does on screen, but it is neat to watch people do all the whip stunts. I'm not especially athletic, and I doubt I will ever be able to be the next Adam Winrich, but I did, you know, want a decent whip for cosplay. I first started with a Todd's, just a good belt hanger. This one's 10 foot, and you know, I was able to crack it a couple times. It came in the natural tan Raiders color, and I just ended up coloring it with Feebing's leather dye to get it more of a Temple of Doom color. Now, several years later, I was at an Indiana Jones event, and my friend Brian let me use his Trinity Temple of Doom whip. It was an 8-footer. I cracked it a couple times. I was like, this is pretty nice. It's easy to crack. It looks cool. So, as soon as I got home, I went to Trinity's website and I ordered this one. It's an 8-footer, so like I said, a lot easier to crack. It's a great belt hanger because it's not too heavy. It looks great, the details are good. Blake over at Trinity Whip studied with Joe Strain, so he has a lot of those nice qualities that we want from an Indy bullwhip. And honestly, at the time, this was 2020, this was one of the most affordable ones that you could get. It was only, I think it was around just under $600. So bullwhips, you can spend as much money as you want on those things. Just under $600 was a good price for me. Like I said, I'm not a stunt whip guy. I can do the cattleman crack, that's about it. Which, you know, for Indiana Jones, he doesn't really do much more sophisticated than that. Mostly uses this thing as a rope, which you should not do, by the way. You will destroy your whip. I would say, as far as whips go, figure out what it is that you want to do. Do you really want to get into whip cracking? If so, you might want to get a better, more professional whip. Or do you just want a belt hanger? Maybe you'd be fine with paracord or nylon, or a costume whip that's made from leather like the Todd's Costumes whip, but they go for under $200. At least they did back in the day. Think about your needs and what you want. All right, so now that we've gone through all the gear, let's do a breakdown just to give you an idea of what something like a more screen accurate Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom costume would run you, or at least what it ran me. So first up, the boots. And like I said, I managed to get some Aldens used on eBay, and they ended up costing me $180. Now, this was almost 10 years ago, and Aldens have gotten more expensive, which means the eBay sellers have gotten more expensive. But if you can get them for $180, I say go for it, because that's about what Wested is charging for their new boots, and the Aldens will last you forever. Socks. Brown crew socks. I got like a pack at the military surplus store for $7. Trousers, I went with Wested. They cost me about $168. While I was at the military surplus store grabbing my socks, I also got a brown web belt, and those things are super cheap. They're like $10. For the shirt, I went with the Zuma. My Temple of Doom shirt from him cost $80. My straps and holster I got from Make It Jones, and for the bag strap, the whip holder, the gun belt, and the holster cost me around $200. The bag I got from What Price Glory. It was an original, cost me around $60. The jacket is the Temple of Doom Legacy from Wested Leather, and that costs around $320. My hat I got from Herbert Johnson. I was lucky enough to be in London last year and got to go right to the store and order it in person. It was a really great experience. I covered it in another video. That hat ran me $535. And then finally my whip. I ended up getting a Trinity Fortune and Glory whip. At the time, it cost me around $620. I believe that was with shipping. So the total for everything comes out to be about $2,180. Now, I may have forgotten some tax and some shipping costs in here, so that price could be a little bit higher. But yeah, about $2,200 for a close to screen accurate Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom costume. And of course, you can spend more, you could spend less. I wish I could say that I've only spent $2,000 on indie gear, but the thing is that I have more parts, more jackets, more hats, and more shirts and trousers. So the total I've spent on all indie stuff is probably way too high, and I don't want to post it up there because my wife might get mad at me. But yeah, hopefully this gives you a ballpark idea of what might be in store for you if you decide to go down the path of accuracy. And that is my walk through my Temple of Doom gear. I hope you all found this informative. Please, if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. I will try to answer as best as I can. I am not a gear expert. I just know what I like. And if you like the same things I do, then I'm happy to help as much as I can. I have been helped over the years by so many great people in the indie community. Jared, Throw Me the Whip, Kirk Brockman, so many helpful people in the community I have learned from, and I just want to pass on some of the things that I've learned to all of you. So with that, I bid you all much fortune and glory.